Do you know why you do what you do? I know that may sound like a dumb question, but just think about some of the things we do that we never really even given any thought to, but instead we justify it. That's just how I am, or I'm just keeping it real. That's just how my family done things traditionally since my great 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 grandparents 153 years ago. Well, I'm here to tell you that may be hindering you in more ways than you could possibly imagine. And my hope is that by the end of this video, you'll leave with a new and improved perspective. Growing up, I was a very curious kid, so I would ask any and everyone questions about any and everything. Eventually, I was told to shut up and fall in line because only the police were allowed to ask questions. Growing up in the slums of West Philadelphia, you start to understand the extreme dislike for the police. So to be even remotely associated with the police was considered disrespect. Long story short, all of my who are yous, how are yous, and any other question I had quickly became fuck you. I think as human beings, everybody has a natural gift and a natural passion. But then you go outside and get influenced and you feel pressure from what's going on outside. I read somewhere, would you rather be at peace with the world and at war with yourself, or at peace with yourself and at war with the world? And that was powerful for me. That was a quote from Nipsey Hussle. So essentially, what he's saying here is everybody has a natural passion that they want to express. Then they get silenced by the environment, end up suppressing their true nature, and falling in line behind people who are just as lost as they are. This is what the majority of the anger we see on a daily basis stems from. But when we see the shootings and stabbings and gangbanging going on, we tend to focus our attention on that, when the reality is that's just a symptom of a much, much deeper issue. In my opinion, it comes from being out of alignment with your true self, which comes from suppressing your emotions, gifts, and passions. So I would advise you to follow your passions and unapologetically be yourself. Otherwise, frustration and all kinds of negative emotions will kick in. I promise you, because that's your higher self letting you know that something's wrong. It's just up to you to be aware of it. That's like putting diesel in a car that says premium gas only and wondering why the car won't operate properly or the check engine light came on. Now, with all that said, how do we get in alignment with our true selves? First, there's three things that we have to understand. And to get this point across, I'm going to be referring to something that I learned from Myron Golden because he illustrated it so eloquently. Now, it's going to be coming from my own perspective, but I just want to make sure that I give credit to where credit is due. First is your lie identity. Now, what is your lie identity? It's when people who don't know who they are tell you who you are and you believe them because you love them, respect them, and didn't want to upset them. Think about the amount of times your mom, dad, grandma, pop, or Uncle Freddie told you something, and years later you find out they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. They just told it to you because someone told it to them. And it just became this vicious cycle of propaganda. Then we want to blame it on genetics or family curse and all this stuff that really doesn't matter. Usually this happens early in life when we don't have the ability to question things. Again, the blind leading the blind. I remember some years back talking on the phone with this chick while her daughter was singing in the background. She got upset and told the little girl, "Shut up, you can't sing anyway." Now that might stick with that little girl for the rest of her life, all because the lie her mom told her about herself. She might not even go after her dream as a singer. Also, the main character in my book, Young Cannon, is the perfect example of this. He goes from a straight A student to getting influenced by his environment and ultimately becoming a cold-blooded savage. For free access to Young Cannon, check out the link in the description. Next is what Myron calls your my identity. Now, I said in the beginning of this video that when I was younger, I was a shy kid who would ask any and everyone any and every question, but that wasn't acceptable in my environment. So I became the angry kid who was ready to fly off the handle at any given moment. However, like your lie identity, your my identity is still you being out of alignment with your highest self. Not saying there aren't certain elements to your my identity that won't serve you in certain instances because they are, but the intent behind your actions in themselves still aren't authentic because it's still based off of what other people think. Next is where we want to focus our attention, and that's your identity. The person you need to become to fulfill your purpose, to reach your goals, and be who God created you to be. First, you got to believe in your ability to become the best version of yourself because action always follows belief. And the best way I've known to ever increase my belief is just knowing that I have great intentions, just knowing that I'm a pretty good individual. Also, when you put in the work, in the preparation, you believe that you deserve whatever that's coming to you. And you believe that you're ready for whatever's going to be in front of you. All that preparation and planning and doing and putting in them actions every day and over time, it just becomes a part of your natural state. This is why we want to focus on intentions and ignore distractions, because the reticular activating system is always listening and taking note. It does not distinguish between where you're playing and where you're serious. It just is. So focus on your purpose and come up with a hypothesis of what the actions are that's going to get you to that goal of what your purpose is. And make sure you become mindful all the time of what those limiting beliefs are from your lie identity and your my identity and your past, because those things are always going to come up. Those limiting beliefs, those things that actually take you off course. We have to always be mindful of those things and correct course. Over time, this will just become your natural state. I hope this video delivered on a promise. Comment below. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was, or what you would like me to touch on in the next video. And until next time, stay true.